if I read a shitty comic, I'm not going to tell you, oh, it's fucking great, because I might benefit as a comic creator by elevating, the general idea of indie comics. Like, I just can't do it. I read the comic and it sucks. And I'm going to be reading any other books Eric July puts out, and if they get good, I'm going to have to go,
thank goodness. I'm sure people will love to hear your criticism on the next book.
If we really want to have an independent comic movement that is legitimate and lasting, we have to be willing to take the exact same amount of criticism that we throw at Marvel, that we throw at DC, that we throw at Disney.
I want to talk about the Eric July thing before you go. So
yeah, we can do that for sure.
So Eric July, I caught some of the drama between you and Eric July and Dick Masterson.
Yes.
And I saw a clip of Dick Masterson saying something about Eric July. Oh no, I think he was showing some fan art where they were George Floyding Eric July's character. And the look on your face, we talked about it on our stream. And now that you're here, you can answer for us, because I thought the look on your face was like, oh my God, Dick Masterson is literally costing me tens of thousands of dollars off of my comic book campaign.
You get it.
Yeah.
We have the full clip on our channel. Somebody took it and cut out all the parts of me going. So what happened is I have a comic coming out.
So hold on. Am I correct in that? Is that what was going through your mind?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, Dick.
It's actually really funny.
I'm like, Dick. Dick. Yeah.
He's trying to get my goat. It's a comedy podcast.
Yeah, but it's like a friend walking into the casino and you've just got like $1,000 worth of chips that you're planning on playing with all night, and they grab it out of your hands and go put it on black and say, "Oh, let's have a bunch of fun here while we watch if you're gonna play tonight or not."
You've been validated, Adam, because when you gave that take, a lot of people were saying, "No, that's not what happened."
Yeah, but look, the A-team's
well, if people thought I was
reaction.
being racist, so what happened is that Eric July has a comic. Maybe have you guys talked about it on here? Does your audience kind of know about it?
Not really, and I haven't read the comic, so I don't know. But he has he has a comic called Isom, and I think he raised like $3.7 million on the comic.
Yes,
so
he raised a lot of money,
a giant financial success.
Yes,
but Dick Masterson wants to say it's not a critical success. But I'll let you take over. You tell the story.
All right. Well, there's two things here. Let me let's just go right into it. So basically, Eric July he's one of these guys, very much an anti-woke believer, is constantly talking about some of this stuff, talks a lot about politics, and he's a libertarian. He works for the Blaze. He works for what's the guy who owns the Blaze? That guy used to work on Fox News. But basically, he's a connected right-wing conservative kind of guy. Calls himself, he says he's not conservative, he's an anarcho-capitalist.
Anarcho-capitalist.
Okay, but he works for the Blaze. He works for Glenn Beck. Like, we know what camp he's in.
I mean, if you're an anarcho-capitalist, you're very far right-wing.
He's a taxation is theft crowd, definitely.
Right.
Taxation is theft, absolutely.
He's a sovereign citizen. He's not.
He's a guy that, I've watched some of his videos, and I have some of the same complaints where I go, I think this guy is being very superficial in his criticisms. One of his big criticisms is he's one of these guys spearheading the idea that Miles Morales will never be a true Spider-Man. He will always be an imitation of the white Spider-Man. He doesn't count as a true black character. And I go, well, that's stupid. Comics have clearly existed. There's been multiple Green Lanterns, multiple Flashes, superheroes. The idea is the mantle can pass down. Someone else can become Batman, can become Superman. I think that's one of the exciting things about comics. He says, no, Miles Morales is forever tainted as an imitation of the white Spider-Man. So I've disagreed with him on that. I've disagreed with him on some political stuff. He came out, said, I'm making a comic book. And, as a guy who I consider him, kind of a dummy, I was like, well, let me take a look at this. And I looked at the campaign. And honestly, I was like, wow, this is a really badly written campaign. The pitch does not make sense. Like, there's some weird, grammar and spelling errors everywhere. And I was like, it is my belief. And I said, I don't think this guy has what it takes to write a great comic book. He's a first-time writer. He's never written anything before in his life. And most guys, when it's your first project, you don't knock it out of the park. But he has a huge fan base, and they gave him $3.4 million. And God bless his heart, he was able to put this comic out. So I read it, and I said on the show I do with Dick Masterson, Biggest Problem in the Universe, I said, Dick, there's this guy, Eric July. He just put out this comic, and let's be clear, he had big news articles from Fox News that said, anti-woke comic book is tearing up the charts. From the New York Post, like, this man's anti-woke comic book is going to change the game. And I said, I think this is a book that a lot of people bought based purely on this anti-woke marketing. But when you actually read the book, it's abysmal. It's terrible. Dick Masterson is a right-leaning guy, and he goes, you're just a jealous leftist punk, Vito. You have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sure the comic is fine. Stop complaining about it. I went, no, Dick, seriously,
Oh, that's
it's not
interesting.
good.
That's interesting. So
He was
Dick,
on Eric's side.
that's
Absolutely
crazy. Okay.
That's why when my character, somebody sent in fan art of my character kneeling on Eric July, or not on Eric July, on Eric July's character, he was like, see, it's your stupid character with a much better superhero or whatever. Somebody in the chat says, Eric has been writing music for years, Vito. Oh, yes, writing music makes you a great comic artist. All the great comic writers and script writers were musicians. Anyway, so Dick goes, I'm going to finally read it, and I'm going to put you in your place, Vito. And he reads the comic. He goes, Vito, I have to tell you, that is one of the worst comics I've ever read in my life. And we went through, guys, look, we weren't, it's a comedy podcast. We did a very biting critique. It was his review. He had his notes. I just listened to him and, was like, yeah, I see what you're saying. There's no hook. The characters make no sense. It's a superhero who only fights security guards. The main bad guy is the biggest security guard out of all the security guards, which is not a good 100 pages without learning the hero's, backstory, without learning what his powers are. Just a really bad first book, as you would expect from a first-time writer. But again, Eric July has a huge community that he is gaslit into believing that he is the next Stan Lee. They're literally in his comments going, you are the next Stan Lee. You are going to change comics forever. So we thought we'd put out this review and he would just ignore us. Because why would, again, he's raised millions of dollars. What does he care? Instead, Eric July feels the need to, he hates any amount of criticism. He hates it. So him and his followers for the past month, anyone who replies to us and they go, hey, Dick, your review of ISOM was funny, or I thought this. Eric July will come in, these guys with 12 followers, and be like, his review was stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. You're following a bunch of clowns. And we're like, Eric, you're a multimillionaire. Don't even bother with us. This is not important. So that's been the drama, is that me and Dick firmly believe that this guy can't write his way out of a paper bag, and that he has a bunch of, sycophants around him who are telling him you're the next best thing to ever happen to comics, but he doesn't have anyone to tell him, hey man, you got to sit down and learn basics, 3-act story structure. You have to learn, you got to read some books on screenwriting. You can't just wing it.
I'm trying to figure out why a guy who is willing to say that he's gay on his application to the studios feels the need to get involved in this battle with Eric July when he's got literally $3.7 million worth of comic book fans that could be buying your book. Why is this your fight?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because I'm an honest man. I'm not gonna.
You're an honest man that will write down "I am gay" so that you can get a studio gig. That does not ring as an honest man.
I'm honest when it counts. And let's be real. That part of the problem is that I'm on YouTube and I make reviews, and I'm a media critic, right? I review movies, I review comics, whatever else, and I give my honest opinion as much as I possibly can. I try to have it not be tainted by my politics or anything else. A lot of these guys who Eric July is friends with have videos on their channel that say anti-woke comic book has Marvel and DC running scared. Literally videos. The title of the video will be DC and Marvel Comics are scared of Eric July. And I go, that is a lie. You are lying to your audience.
It's good marketing. What's the problem?
It's great marketing.
Why are critics marketing for their friend when they are supposed to be objective critics who tell their audience the way things are? So are you only an objective critic, but if your friend puts out a movie, you're allowed to make, 10 out of 10, it's the best movie I've ever seen? No, then you failed as a critic. You have to remain objective.
I don't see why
you're friends with.
Look, you're a comic creator now. Why do you have to be a critic?
I have to call out the madness that is entering into these. Look, I want stories to become better. Yes, I'm a comic creator myself, but I'm also a person who deeply cares about media becoming better, that we tell better stories. And all of these guys have told us, all these YouTubers are telling us, well, the best way, trust us. with storytelling. We know how to do it. Just take the politics out of it and it will be great. And that was Eric July's thing. Take out the politics, kick out all the leftist writers, get rid of all the gay and the trans stuff, and you're going to have a great story. And Eric has proven the exact opposite by putting out one of the worst comic books that I have ever read, 100 pages of nonsense. And I am deeply worried that people are buying into this idea that, oh, we can fix media if we just take politics out of it.
Maybe,
it's like I keep saying, that's one very small part of the equation. You still need to understand basic script writing, basic characters, 3-act structure, character motivation. You can't just go, well, at least there's no gay people in it, so I know it's good. That's not how we criticize media.
Maybe Vito, you just don't like it because it's not crammed full of these woke progressive politics that you just love in all of your movies and television. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe people do like it, but they have a different moral aesthetic than you, and that's why it's good for them. But
100 pages of a black guy stumbling around the city fighting security guards because he feels he's been insulted by Darren, the great comic villain Darren. Look,
I've met some Darrens. They're fucking.
I'm going to say this.
Any guy named Darren, I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
I went into this book as objective as, even as a guy who hates Eric July, I said, I'm going to be as fair as I possibly can. And there was a
You can't be fair if you hate the guy.
I can. That's the thing, though. I'm an honest critic. There are guys, let's put it this way. I made multiple videos about Ezra Miller being the scum of the earth. He's a psychopath and a weirdo. He's victimizing women and children. I have multiple videos on my channel talking about that. I went and I saw The Flash and I said, well, the motherfucker can act. I can't argue with that. Okay? I think criticism is all about being
his
objective.
acting was good? The Flash's acting was good? Oh, man.
Yeah.
I thought it was horrendous.
Did you see the Flash movie?
I did, yeah. The acting was awful. All the acting was terrible.
Oh,
Except for Keaton. Keaton did a good job, but everyone else was like... I really
thought the comedy really worked from him.
Really?
I think he's a good comedic actor, especially when he was vibrating through the floor and whatever else. Like, I was laughing throughout
Some of those
movie.
jokes work, but not as many as could have. But anyway, side note.
Regardless... And I'm going to be reading any other books Eric July puts out, and if they get good, I'm going to have
to
go,
thank goodness. Well, I'm sure people will love to hear your criticism on the next book.
Let me put it this way. I know guys in the comic industry, okay?
Okay. I know Eric
guys,
July is in the comic industry. I think he's...
No, hold on. I know guys in these right-wing spheres who directly benefit from being friends with Eric July and being part of his social network, and some of them have come to me privately and had said, I'm glad somebody is telling Eric that his book is not that good, because frankly, he needs to hire an editor. He needs to step up his game. I have guys going, Look, I have other guys going, Vito, we know it's bad, but shut your mouth because we can make a bunch of money. And I go, listen, you do that. I get that that's you, and you can do that, and you can play it nice. I'm too honest. If I read a shitty comic, I'm not going to tell you, oh, it's fucking great, because I might benefit as a comic creator by elevating, the general idea of indie comics. Like, I just can't do it. I read the comic and it sucks. And the other thing is, I was perfectly ready to drop it. After Dick dropped his review, I'm like, I think we've said all we need to say about ISOM. We're done. Okay? We've reviewed the comic. We don't like it. We're not here to create problems for Eric. Maybe I'll put a tweet out being like, his new comic looks stupid.
Look, I see Dick Masterson still go... I saw
because Dick does not. Yeah, let's be clear.
Dick Masterson was on Flashcast with Eric July, and I thought, thank goodness, finally they're burying the hatchet, and Vito's comic can sell some copies. And then I see the next day Dick Masterson on Twitter going round and round with Eric July. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this happening?
All I know, I don't know who starts what. All I know is that Eric has done multiple live streams where, if we want to, he's not saying Dick's name, but he's saying that round-headed Mexican motherfucker. So we know who he's talking about. So I don't know who's continuing the beef. The beef is being continued. People on Twitter are sniping at me and sniping at Eric, and it's become a whole thing. At the end of the day, I'm ready to basically drop it. Look, all I can say is, if you want, let's put it this way. You can discount my opinion. You could say Vito's just, has these politics, so he has to hate the comic, and it's not a real thing, whatever. At the end of the day, and I've confirmed this with our comic creators, they've said, we think the space is better if we can freely criticize each other. We should encourage criticism. Even if the criticism seems harsh and over the top, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, if we really want to have an independent comic movement that is legitimate and lasting, we have to be willing to take the exact same amount of criticism that we throw at Marvel, that we throw at DC, that we throw at Disney. Because again, all these guys, Eric July is the guy who every day is making a video about DC Comics did this wrong, Marvel Comics did this wrong. But all of a sudden, I go, well, Eric July, his comic sucks. And that's off limits. Why? Because he's a YouTuber, because he's only has this many millions of dollars. Let's be clear. Most of the guys writing DC and Marvel comics have not made as much money from Eric July at comics. Okay. Most of these writers are not getting paid the same amount that Eric July is being paid. If anything, criticizing Eric's comic makes a lot more sense than criticizing the work of some guy who got paid $80 a page to write, whatever shitty new X-Men comic came along.
Well, I don't.
But we need criticism.
I don't begrudge you guys the criticism, obviously. I just think it's weird that it's going into like weeks later and they're still like beefing on Twitter and stuff like that. It's like the criticism has already been levied.
Well, Eric is a guy who says, I benefit from fighting with my haters. And I think he wants to extend the fight. I mean, he used Dick's review, to say, I'm going to attack my haters, which is a way that he's built up his audience. I think the problem he's having is that typically when he's attacked his haters in the past, he finds, the stupidest, far right activist moron, and you can really take him to task. I don't think he thought, picking a fight with two comedians who have a a comedy podcast, you kind of end up looking like an idiot at the end of the day. So it's been I don't think it's been a great fight for him, but I think he still benefits from it. And people, look, let's be real. People love drama. I didn't go into this saying, oh, we can build up our channel by, starting a fight with Eric July. But, I look at the YouTube numbers and I go, well, I don't know. The audience is interested in it. So whatever else.
Has it helped your comic book sales or has it hurt you?
I think at the end of the day, look, I'll say this. If I wanted to sell, 100,000 copies of my comic book, I would come on your show and I would tell you, we need to destroy the wokes. Wokeness is the worst problem in Hollywood. I hate wokeness. Conservatism, we need more conservative writers, whatever. I know what I could say to make money, but I'm an honest guy. I'm going to tell you what I actually believe. I don't think it's that big a problem. I don't think Eric July knows how to write. And I think a lot of these YouTubers are grifting to make money. And that's, if that's how they want to make money, fine. At the end of the day, I can only make money by being myself. And the only message I have is I'm a guy who cares deeply about storytelling, story structure, cares deeply about comedy to the point that I went and protested it and almost got beat up by Antifa at a stupid Netflix protest. So I hope people see, and I hope people see what I'm about. Okay, look, I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with me politically. But I think at the end of the day, if you tell me I don't care about writing a great comedy story, that I don't care about, story structure and that sort of thing, I think you would know that you're lying. So at the end of the day, I'm putting myself out there. Maybe you disagree with me politically, but I think I'm a great storyteller, and I think I got a great comic coming to you. Well, and if you don't want to buy it because of my politics, that's fine, but I think that's a sad way to indulge in media. I buy a lot of media from guys whose politics I fucking hate. There's a lot of writers where I go, holy shit, this guy was a fucking racist psychopath, but I still like what he put out and I read it. So I'm hoping we can get back to that.
I didn't know anything about this drama at all. But I think what I've learned from hearing what you're saying here is that, Adam, when you're done with the comic, we definitely have to push that wokeness is destroying the comic industry and that buying our comic will be this thing that saves it, okay? We're pushing back against wokeness in comic with our comic, Supervillains Anonymous. Right, Adam?
We are literally pushing back
we
against
have
wokeness
Robot Hitler in our comic. The
Like,
wokes would never allow Robot Hitler to be in a comic.
You should do this. Like, people are clearly... there is a very... I don't know how to say it. I'll just say it. There's a group of very dumb people who believe that they can win a culture war by buying anti-woke chocolate and anti-woke beer and boycotting Budweiser and whatever else, and that's fine.
There's a bunch of
stupid people. These people are correct.
Yeah, there's a bunch of dumb people who think that they can't win by doing those things, Vito.
Right.
And you're in that group.
Yeah, Vito.
What is the win? That people stop buying Bud Light?
Look, they're going to put, they've already won.
Wait.
They're going to put Bud Light out of business. People are thinking twice before they put this woke shit in front of them. That's a win.
Right.
That's a giant win.
Wait, don't you agree that if there's companies that have some kind of, even if you disagree with that as well, right? But if there's some company, like, did you see the Miller Lite commercial where they're like, send us all your sexist ads we used to produce so we can
Yeah.
destroy them, right? Like, so if there's a company that's kind of like pushing something that is viewed as overtly political or it's woke, and then people boycott it, and then they have to stop doing that. I mean, that is definitely a win for the anti-woke side in the culture war because it's going to prevent companies or make companies think twice when they kind of try to do that in kind of political engagement, right?
I think that it's fine to vote with your wallet against companies that are unethical. The problem is when you have, and you know what? I'll say this: the Budweiser boycott was a bad example. But
Okay,
when the Daily Wire comes to you and they go, "Are you mad about Hershey's having a trans spokesperson?" Well, the way to combat that is to buy our Daily Wire chocolate bar. I go, I don't see how that's a solution. I think that's just giving money to a different. And again, it was like a $40 chocolate bar or something. I go, I don't think this pushes the culture war in any direction. I don't think this really hurts.
It does.
Hershey.
It literally does because they recycle the money into content,
into making more Daily Wire content.
Yeah.
yeah.
At that point, just buy a Daily Wire membership. I don't know, just buy stock.
Yeah, but they want to make mainstream movies in the same way that Marvel is making mainstream movies that influence the culture.
And they need the money to do it.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, then just give them money. Then don't even buy anything. Just literally send them $1,000 a month until they have enough money to make a movie.
Listen, I want a product. Okay.
You want a product. You want a.
You want a little candy bar that says, what does it say? Like him nuts or something.
Here's the thing. I care about a great story. If I'm going to the movies, I don't care who made it, as long as it's a good story and it entertains me. I'm not here to try and win a culture war. Buying my comic book does not win a culture war. You just get a great story out of it. And I hope people enjoy it.
But
man.
I want to win.
Listen, don't listen to me, okay? Buying our comic book is both a great story and helps win the culture war.
It's a twofer.
It's a twofer. That's right.
I mean, I'll tell you this. The only thing I can get behind is that I believe independent media is very important. I think that is a message that should get out there. And the reason I think independent, if you care about what's happening in Hollywood, I think a good example is in Hollywood right now, you can't make like a good comedy movie because they're afraid of making jokes.
Of course.
Right. They're definitely afraid of making a joke that's going to offend anybody else. So I think the reason you support independent media is independent media that is willing to push those boundaries. If somebody said, I want to make the next great comedy movie, or for instance, in my comic, I talk about, we have some jokes in here that I think are going to offend some people. There's some, sexual jokes about the LGBT community, stuff that I probably couldn't get away with doing if I was at Marvel and DC. And I think if you're supporting projects, excuse me, that are, pushing those boundaries and, engaging in storytelling that the mainstream is avoiding, then not only are you rewarding that kind of storytelling, but the mainstream eventually takes notice of that. And they go, wait, this guy made a comedy movie and it's about a stupid black guy who falls on his face and gets AIDS and he raised $10 million. The mainstream will go where the money is. They will embrace that and they will start making crazy, zany comedies again. It's the same thing I'm trying to do with the comics. I'm, trying to push the edge a little bit. I'm pushing the edge. I have sexiness in it. I have a tentacle rape cover for my comic. Okay. This is the kind of thing you can't really get away with in the mainstream. And I'm hoping that as more independent people have success, that it shows the mainstream, hey, we don't have to be scared of this. This is clearly popular. Let's get in on it. We can be a part of it.
Look, we have an orgy on the front of our cover with Sitch with 42 women. So
yeah, I think the problem though is that when Eric July's comic, when you get down to it, it's just a basic superhero story. It doesn't push the edge in any way. It's just a guy walking around with super strength, punching people, and they're going, well, just the mere fact that it doesn't have politics in it is a win. And I go, I don't see it. I don't understand. This does not, because this doesn't impact the mainstream. I guess the mainstream looks at that and they go, oh, I guess we can take the politics out of our entertainment. I just don't think it leads that way. I think it's much more revolutionary to put out media that pushes in the other direction very, very strongly and has this kind of, sexiness, has the violence, has the comedy, and prove that those kind of stories are popular. And that's the kind of thing the mainstream should be doing. If that makes any sense, at least that's what I'm trying to do. I'm a guy who's been out in Hollywood and I've pitched projects and they go, hey, that's a little too racy. That's a little too much. Can you cover up her skin? And I go, you know what? Why don't I just do it independently? And they'll go, why did we ask for these changes? Because this is not what people want, We have to show them what people want. We have to demonstrate it.
Well, Eric July, I think, has made his book family friendly, which is probably a step in the right direction. I don't think you can hit that 3.7 million mark without a family friendly book. So
I don't know if it's family friendly. It's still a black guy going around punching people to death. But
well,
sure.
It's not scantily clad women, though.
Violence
right?
is fine. What do you mean?
Violence is fine.
Sex.
You're right.
Yeah, you know how it is.
Do you think there's a lack of family friendly entertainment? Is that our problem?
Well, I just
Spider-Man was family friendly.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we're doing fine for families.
But you were
I'm
saying
missing,
you were
I'm
saying
missing
you
the sexualization.
Right. In terms of getting like a shit ton of money, you want to have the broadest, scope that you can. Right?
Well, and
Guys,
also there is like part of wokeness is avoiding attractive characters because they don't want any men getting a boner or
turned
anything.
on. Yeah, we keep getting really ugly ladies in the video games, and that's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
I look at that, what's that game, Horizon? And I'm like, man, if that had a really hot chick, because she's like almost hot, but then I feel like they keep making her uglier. I'm like, if they just had a really hot chick, that game would sell much better.
Yeah. Well, see, but that's a good example of kind of like wokeness preventing, success, isn't it?
Yeah, there was some lady who gave one of the Ratchet games. She's like, I specifically made the other Ratchet's girlfriend less sexy. I'm like, why'd you do that? I want a hot mouse lady in the game. Fuck you.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I was like, you think this is a good thing? We could have had a sexy mouse like Ratchet from fucking Rescue Rangers. You're killing me here.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.